Okay, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Ways to Make 2021 Your Best Year. Very fortunate to have an old friend of mine, friends for 23 years, Jerry Posner. Jerry Posner is an accomplished trainer, conference speaker, strategist coach, author, and ukulele player. For more than 30 years, he's presented engaging and entertaining workshops, retreats, and programs for a wide variety of businesses, organizations, and groups. He's considered an expert in the fields of customer service, leadership, communication skills, stress management, and as he says, ways to increase the likelihood of positive incomes in areas of life that are important and meaningful to you. Jerry is also a popular lecturer at Canyon Ranch Resort in Lenox, Massachusetts, having presented 2,500 inspirational motivational lectures to their guests since 1993. Raised in northern New Jersey, he attended Emerson College in Boston, graduated magna cum laude with a degree in mass communications. Jerry lives in Sheffield, Massachusetts with his wife Lynn and their canine companions, Maxwell, Jackson, and Grace. Welcome, Jerry.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for inviting me to give my talk to your members. I used to be a membership manager of a Chamber of Commerce in Southern California for a number of years, and I'm very bullish on the work that Chambers of Commerce do in different ways. So it's really a pleasure to spend a little bit of time with you. As I was telling David a little bit before, that the internet is a little wonky these days. There's an awful lot of traffic for different reasons. So if I freeze, do not worry, I will unfreeze. So hopefully you'll still be able to hear me. And if there's big trouble, I have an alternate method. And please alert me via the chat. So this workshop is called Ways to Make 2021 Your Best Year. Now, it may not be your best year ever, but it's ways, as David said, that I like to say, to increase the likelihood of positive outcomes in your work and in your life. And the positive outcomes could be different for different people because we are different. Like Martin Luther King Jr. said, we may have come on different ships, but we're in the same boat now. I've always liked that quotation. Dr. King was suggesting that we've come on different ships. You know, we are different. We have different needs, different talents, different abilities, different hopes. We have different levels of motivation in our businesses, in our relationships, in different areas of our life. It's unique. We are unique. So I have kind of a buffet of tools and techniques and suggestions that over the years of teaching this material and getting a lot of feedback from people who've been to my workshops or people that I coach directly, the ideas or the tools that essentially work the best for most people. And so much of it has to do with first understanding yourself. Where are you now in your business and in your life? What goals or outcomes would be positive outcomes for you this year? And what could you do to skew the odds in your favor? So to these ends, I've printed up some notes because the notes are very important. Like any lecture or workshop, you could hear some really good advice and you could love that advice. This is really good advice. I should use this. This is great. And then the next day, you forgot what it was and then nothing happened. I mean, we have to remind ourselves often, especially if we have a habit that we want to change or a habit that we want to cultivate. We generally need a lot of reinforcement. We need a lot of reminding. And so I have already prepared notes for you. And let's take a look at that. And we can follow along. Let's see if that worked. Did that work? Yeah. Can you not? Oh, good. Excellent. I like getting the feedback. So, all right. Ways to make 2021 your best year. These are notes and some ideas to consider and to use. And I say to consider, because I don't tell people what to do, but I strongly suggest that you consider how it might be useful to you, practical to you. So the headline is control what you can, accept what you must, and manage the rest. We cannot control everything. We can't control the weather. We can't control other people. We can't control economic conditions. We can't control a lot. But we can accept the things that we can't control, and we can manage the things that we can control. Wise men throughout history, and women too, wise men and women throughout history have said, don't bother with things that you can't control. Focus on the things that you can control. So consider what might be some elements of your best year. This is going to be best year possible, or even best year ever. What would be some elements? I know I'm probably frozen now, but then it will probably come back. Got a little message. Okay. Good. Yeah, Dave, continue to give me like nonverbal messages, hand signals. Excellent. So initially, I say, what would be elements? Economically, what are realistic elements that would make it best year? In your business, what are realistic elements? In your relationships, in your health, in your well-being? You want to think about that and write them down. That is, make a list of elements of your best year. You might call them goals. You might call them trajectories. You might call them directions. But whatever it is, it's extremely helpful to have them written and to remind yourself of them every day. Because if you focus your attention on them every day, you have a higher likelihood of, one, making steps, doing things, taking action because you're reinforcing it. And two, the parts of the mind that are the unconscious or subconscious parts get the idea that this is what it is that you're looking for. And so you start to notice things or notice opportunities that you might not have noticed just by making a list, reviewing your list daily, editing as desired as conditions change. We, in the COVID years, there's a lot of things that we can't do. And my friends and clients in the hospitality industries, travel industry, hotel industry, restaurant industry, a lot of them are really hurting. And a lot of my friends want to travel, but they don't feel that it's safe. And so if you make a list of things that you are looking forward to as this year progresses, and you think about those things that make you feel happy and make you feel more optimistic, then you feel happier and you feel more optimistic. It's a known fact neurologically and psychologically that we can get an enormous amount of pleasure just anticipating a trip that we might want to take, or some new product that we might want to roll out, or some new marketing strategy. That thinking about it can excite us. And if we get excited and we get passionate and we get enthusiastic, that's a positive thing, because the brain likes that a little bit better than pessimism and, feeling rotten because you're thinking that something really bad may happen, whether or not it does. That's often called catastrophizing, awfulizing, where we take something that may just be a challenge or difficult, and we turn it into a disaster in our heads. And so we get a stress response, and now we really feel not so good. And our cognitive abilities are diminished, because when we are stressed and when we are worried and when we are cheerful, and the stress chemicals like cortisol and norepinephrine get released, literally the part of the brain that is the cogitating part, the prefrontal cortex, goes offline. It's when we do something not wise and later we say, why did I do that? Or I just wasn't thinking. That's literal, literally the thinking part of the brain goes offline. Therefore, managing stress, you know, taking things in the right context, not turning something difficult into something impossible can be very helpful. So as I said at the beginning, with we may have come on different ships. One size does not fit all. We're all individuals, unique motivations, unique drives. So we begin with who we are, where we are, what we have to work with, and where we want to be headed. Our business is our business, or our organization. This is where we are now. This is what we have. These are our resources. Where do we want to go? So when people are in between things, like in between relationships or in between gigs or in between career moves, I often recommend to them that they ask themselves these 4 questions. What is important? What is meaningful? What is right for me? And what do I want most? Along with questions like, what would I like to change? How do I want to feel? What ignites my passion? What triggers my happiness and joy? What makes me feel proud? What works for me? These are all really good questions. But I boil it down into these 4 questions. You know, what is important? What is meaningful? What is right for me? And what do I want most? If you want clarity, that is, if you are at a place in your life or in your business where you want clarity, I recommend 10 days of reading this card. What is important? What is meaningful? What is right for me? What do I want most? Thinking about those questions as a group, thinking about them as a group, and then writing, like journaling for 10 minutes minimum per day, 10 days, your reaction or your response to those questions and perhaps some of those other questions. Because what's important to you now may not be what was important to you 5, 10, 20 years ago. You want to kind of get your attention and your mind, your consciousness present, who you are now. So this is a good little exercise if you want to know who you are now as opposed to who you were. Sometimes people have what they call identity crisis, like, who am I now? Or midlife crisis, you know, now what do I do? So this is helpful for that. What is meaningful is usually what makes us feel the most proud. It may be service to others, it may be family, it may be spirituality, it may be philanthropy, kindness, being part of a group, how we are connected, and what's right for me. I mean, what's right for you now? I have a client who's an extremely successful attorney. He has many offices. He's very, very successful. He's in his early 60s. And he worries every day that he doesn't do everything on his to-do list. And it's like, why? You don't have to do those things. You have people to do them. But when he was younger, as so many of us, you know, we are so ambitious and we work all the time. We build our business, and then we get to a point perhaps where we have a good business or we have a good life. We don't have to be a workaholic. So maybe being a workaholic was right for me some years ago. Maybe it's not right for me now, or maybe it is. Depends on you and your life. And what do I want most is a really good question. What do I want most in my business? What do I want most things? What do I want most for my future? What do I want most in my business? What do I want most? Like, I was talking to another client who says she's addicted to cake, and she eats too much cake and then she feels crappy. And I go, so why do you eat all the cake? She says, I really like the cake. Do you like feeling crappy? No. So it's like, what do you want most? Do you want to eat the whole cake and that's more important than feeling crappy? Or would you rather not feel crappy and just have a slice of the cake? I mean, what do you want most? We're always making these determinations. You know, what do we want most? That's an important question. And so doing the journaling for 10 days can be very, very helpful. And yeah, there's like some work involved. There's a little homework. I know you're very busy people. So it's like, 15 minutes, but it can make a huge difference because small things, small course corrections, choices, enlightening ideas can change your whole life. This is sometimes called the butterfly effect. The term butterfly effect, the phrase, came from MIT meteorologist and mathematician Edward Norton Lorenz, who in the early 1970s presented a paper entitled Predictability: Can the Flap of a Butterfly's Wings in Brazil Set Off a Tornado in Texas? Ironically, Texas was in that quotation. But the butterfly effect is a metaphor that small things, like one decision, can change the course of your life. But we know that's true. And some of it is choice, and some of it is random. Some of it is what we might call luck, kismet, karma, good fortune, divine intervention, all different names for these things that happen that we're not controlling consciously. But the idea of butterfly effect is that something as small as a flutter of a butterfly's wings can change or modify a tiny weather pattern, which in turn modifies a larger weather pattern, which in turn modifies a larger pattern, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then you get a weather condition that is huge. The conditions in Texas, for example, there is no one causal factor. There are as close to infinity as possible causal factors. In your life, in your business, in your relationship, there's not one or two causal factors that resulted in you meeting the love of your life, or you starting this business where you have this one client who is your best client, and that best client gets you more clients, and now you have this successful business. And essentially you could trace it back perhaps to that one interaction with that one client. That's kind of butterfly effect. But how did that client appear, and what did you do to create the opportunity for that client? So I think it's important for all of us to realize that the choices that we make, where we focus our attention, what we think about, can affect our lives hugely. Certainly what we believe. We all have our mindset, our belief system, or as I like to abbreviate it, BS, belief system. Because some belief systems are pure BS. That is, they're not relevant, but we may have believed it for our whole lives, and so we still do, even though it may not have a basis in reality. My father is 101 years old. He's 101. And when I would go to see him, because he lives in Florida, in Aventura, the Imperial Club, 14th floor, still independent living, with an aide who comes in for a couple hours to read his mail to him. So when we would go out to a restaurant, my father would steal napkins. I don't mean like, give me an extra napkin, more like piles of napkins. And not to use them, he would stick them in his pocket and bring them home to his apartment. I've been to his apartment. He's got like hundreds of napkins, got a big collection of napkins. And I say, well, Dad, why are you stealing all of these napkins? And he says, well, we need them. And I go, you don't need them, you know. You've got plenty of napkins, lots of them. But he was born in 1919. So the Depression and the stock market crash was 1929. He lived in Newark, New Jersey. He was poor. His family was poor, and they needed napkins. So they'd send 10-year-old my father to be down to the corner hot dog stand to steal them some napkins, which he did. Well, he's 101. He does not need to do this, but he has a belief that napkins make me feel secure, that napkins are what I need to do. I mean, it's just a belief. It's a habit, but he still does it. I mean, we all have those things for various reasons, which is why it is useful to examine your belief system. Going to the notes, what do you believe? What do you want to believe? And why? At least, ladies and gentlemen, we have to believe that the achievements or the changes or the improvements that we seek are possible. We have to start with that. And if you have a wonderful business or you have a wonderful position, you had to believe that it was possible for you to get there. You had to at least believe that it was possible. And so many of us have situations and circumstances that we might not have believed were even possible at certain points in our past. So from here to the future, that is to make 2021 best year, we have to believe in the goals or the achievements or the changes or whatever it is that we want to accomplish. We have to have a belief that, yes, it's possible for me if I do the work, if I do what I need to do, if I have the right attitude, if I have the right motivation, if I have the right mindset, then yeah, it's possible. Whereas sometimes people say, oh, it's not possible. So often, you know, I'll be coaching someone that has a goal, and I will ask them, well, do you think it's possible? Well, I don't know. You don't know? Well, you're not going to be able to do it because your brain will show you that it's not possible. If you believe it's not possible, your selective perception, your biases, how you see things will be modified by your beliefs. That's why some of them are like BS. I mean, we all have cognitive biases. Humans have cognitive biases. And, you know, like confirmation bias means we inherently notice evidence that reinforces or validates whatever our biases are. Even if they're completely whack, it does not matter. We will find evidence that validates our beliefs, and we will ignore evidence to the contrary, even if it's factual. That doesn't seem to matter to that part of the brain. And so you might want to make an honest list of your core beliefs. Like, what do you believe about yourself, your future, your life, your job, your capabilities? What do you believe? It's handy to make a list of that and examine it. What are your core beliefs? Where did they come from? They come from your parents, school, science, mass media? Did they come from some sitcom that you saw some years ago? I was working with a guy who said that he generally doesn't have an anger problem, but he sometimes yells at his wife and he doesn't know why, and he'd like to stop that. And I go, you just yell at your wife? Yeah, and it seems ridiculous, but I do it and I don't know why. You don't know why you yell at your wife? He says, I don't know why. I'm not a yeller. And I said, can you demonstrate what you sound like when you yell at your wife? And he did. And I laughed at him. I said, when you were a kid, did you ever watch the TV show The Honeymooners with Jackie Gleason? He said, I love that show. I said, you're doing the character of Ralph Cramden. That's what you're doing. And he said, oh my God, you're a genius. And I got paid for that. No, anyone would have known. It's just his wife was much younger, did not know of the Honeymooners with Jackie Gleason, because that was his thing. That was what the character, he would scream at his wife. Yeah, beliefs originate somewhere. At this stage in my life, I will not eat cottage cheese. I might like it, but I will not eat it. I will not touch it. I have a strong bias against cottage cheese. Why? My wife asked. I replied, because when I was 4 years old, my mom had a stalk of celery and she put cottage cheese on it and she gave it to me. And I said, what's this? She said, ice cream. I took a big bite and I spit it out all over the living room. And it was terrible. So to this day, I will not touch it. I have a bias that was created when I was 4 years old. And for all I know, I might even like it. So you make your list of beliefs. This is a private thing that you do. You don't necessarily want to share it. It's intimate. And it's like, all right, do I have limiting beliefs? Do I have false beliefs that might need changing? What are my beliefs that are empowering and helpful? So that could be very enlightening, because more often than not, people who do not succeed at what they say they want to succeed at, there's some kind of a blockage, and the blockage may be a belief or, self-confidence, self-esteem, self-image, which brings us to a related topic. What do you stand for? What do you represent? And how do you self-identify? Give you an example. I was doing a workshop for a group of financial advisors. They were wealth advisors for a company affiliated with a bank. And I said, well, how do you self-identify? Like, what would be the right thing that would be on your business card? And one guy said, I'm an expert at asset allocation. I am the asset allocation expert. And I said, oh, that's good. And then a woman said, I am the trust queen. I know everything about trusts. And oh, that's good. And then this guy said, I'm a helper. I said, you're a helper? He says, yes, identify as a helper. Everything I do, I try to help. And everybody liked that. And then the next person said, I'm a helper. The next one said, yes, I'm a helper too. And then everyone changed their answer to helper. Of course, if you self-identify as a helper, then what you want to do is help. You want to help your customers. You want to help your colleagues. You want to help your coworkers. I just want to back up for one moment. What is important? What is meaningful? What is right for me? What do I want most? What is important to my customers? What is meaningful to my customers? What is right for my customers? What do my customers want most? There is customer service in 4 questions. That's all you need. What's important to my customer? What is meaningful to my customer? What is right for my customer? And what does my customer want most? If you can answer those questions about your customer, you will be a tremendous success in your business. So positive core values, that's another way to skew the odds in your favor to make 2021 your best year. Core values, guiding principles, fundamental beliefs that have an active influence on your life, such as, and I have a nice little laundry list, like honesty, integrity, loyalty, efficiency, kindness, compassion, courage, all good words, inspiration, service to others.
Sure. You seem to be frozen, Jerry. Jerry is having a snowstorm up north, so we thought we might have a difficulty, but I believe Jerry has a alternative plan. So Jerry, it seems that you're back with us.
Okay.
All right.
I'm back now.
All right. We can hear you again.
Oh, good. Let's hope this is the only time that happens. Oh, brother. Okay, we're good?
We're good. We're good, Jerry.
Oh, good. Thank you. And thank you for being patient, everybody in our audience. Okay. So, supposing that you make a list of your core values, and maybe it's kindness, compassion, balance, caring, honesty, service to others. So let's say it's those. And every day, that would be daily. I mentioned every day, you read your list. Now, what you're doing is you're just reminding yourself of what your core values are. But that in itself can be extremely powerful, especially if you have an important decision to make, because you want your decisions to be in alignment with your core values, and you don't want to betray your core values, because when we betray our core values, that makes us feel crappy. And sometimes the consequences are significant. So that's a great tool. That alone, I mean, any of these things can increase the likelihood or the probability that, that this will be like best year, because it's all probabilities anyway. We want to skew the odds in our favor. That is the object. So stress. Stress is something that just about everyone deals with to some extent. Some people more than others, and some people get pretty stressed out. So there are a lot of different ways to deal with stress. Stress, by the way, is primarily a biochemical reaction to something that our nervous system interprets as a threat. May not be a real threat. It may just be an annoyance. It may be a problem to be solved. But generally, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, the way that the human nervous system is structured, and talking very generally and using these terms as models, you have a system in the brain called the limbic system, which is the emotional system of the brain, and the flight or fight response stress triggers are within that system. Then you have a thinking system, a more mature part of the brain, a planning, cogitating. That's called the prefrontal cortex. That's the part of the brain that is the smarter part of the brain. I mean, emotions are real, but they're not necessarily rational or logical. They're emotions. Emotions happen. So the object of the game to master stress management is to be able to pause and think. It's like the old cliches: think before you speak, look before you leap, count to 10 before you get angry. Though I like to say 20 or 30, because sometimes that's what you need. But an easy way, I would say a hack, is challenge accepted. When I think challenge accepted, that means I'm looking for a solution to meet the challenge. It's the opposite of I'm a victim of circumstance, I can't do anything about it. Challenge accepted means, all right, this is the challenge. What do I need to do? That little phrase can be very helpful if you practice it, because it shifts the dominance of the brain circuitry from the stress, the worry, the anxiety, to, well, what am I going to do about it? That could be very useful. Usually I do a whole hour on stress management, but this is a nice tool. It's easy, it's quick, and you can develop a habit of when there is a difficult, all right, there's a challenge, not what am I going to do? I'm a victim of circumstance. It's their fault. No, all right, there's a challenge. What can I do about it? And along those same lines, there's a book called The Oz Principle, and it's a business book, and there's a lot in that book about accountability. And there's something in that book that I really, really liked, and it's 4 short sentences to increase accountability. And the 4 sentences are: see it, own it, solve it, do it. And I love that, because the intent is that if you see something that needs to be done or something that needs to change, you own it. In other words, all right, I'm going to do something about it, which is to solve it. What do I need to do to solve it? Sometimes it's an action that you take, or sometimes it's calling the person who has the expertise to solve the problem. But because you own it, you're not going to just let it sit there. You're going to solve it, and then you're going to take the steps to solve the problem. It's really very elegant. On a very simple level, if you're taking a walk in your business and there's a piece of paper on the floor, you see it, and so you own it. That is, all right, I'm going to solve this. I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to do it. I'm going to throw it away. I'm not going to wait for the next person. And in our businesses and in our lives, we sometimes see things that need to be done, and we don't own it. We just let it sit. We walk by it. Just like when I first got married, I had no spousal skills, by the way. My wife was widowed, so she came with spousal skills. I didn't have any. I had to learn all new spousal skills. So I'd be walking in the kitchen and there'd be a plate sitting on the counter, and I just walked by it. my wife would say, did you see that plate? I go, I guess I did. She says, well, what do we do with the plates? I don't know, what do we do? We either wash it or we put it in the dishwasher. So do that. I said, oh, okay, that's good feedback. That's another thing I learned being married, the phrase, that's good feedback. That way you don't get as defensive. It's like, that's good feedback. So anyway, you see the plate, you own it. Okay, this is my plate to do something with. Solve it, bring it to the dishwasher and do it. I'm gonna do it. And so, more ways to make this year awesome. Lists, a lot of people like to do lists. Lists are great. The to-do list, of course, is a very good thing. I would think, let's see, if I stop share and I click this button, maybe I could see more people because I can just see not that many people. Not sure why that is.
Yeah, anyway. I think because we're in webinar mode, Jerry, I'm not sure we can.
Oh, okay. That's okay. That's okay because we're having enough technical stuff as is. So let's just continue as is. Anyway, if I was going to ask you to raise your hands if you do a to-do list, there'd probably be a lot of people who do the to-do list because it's very common. And the to-do list, Myrna raised her hand. Oh, and Lori too raised her hand. Oh, 3 people like to do 4 people like to do the to-do list. This is a great miracle of technology. I love that, thank you. And the to-do list, of course, is a list of things to do. So you remember to do them. And so when you notice that you have to do something, you put it on your list. Very, very simple, but extremely powerful. And everybody knows this. Like if there's something I need to do, I put it on my calendar and I do that like right away. I don't wait. So here's the point. The to-do list is also feedback. If you've had something on your to-do list since 2003 and you have not done it, chances are you don't have to do it. And you definitely don't want to do it, obviously. And so it's like you accept the feedback. The feedback is, I don't need to do it. I don't want to do it. Why is it still on my list? Some people believe it's on their list. They just have to do it because it's on their list. That's silly. It's your list. You are the master of the list. The list is not your master. So if you're not doing a to-do list, consider that. Inspiration list is a really powerful tool. Have you ever gone to a movie where there was a hero that you just thought was great and inspired you? Like, oh yeah, I'm going to be a better person now because I saw this movie. It might be a social reformer. Maybe it's Fred Rogers, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. Maybe it's just some person that you just want to be a better person and you're inspired for about an hour and then you forget it and then nothing happens. However, if you make a list of movies and books and heroes and sports people and music people and entertainment people and social reformers and inventors and just people who inspire you, business people, then when you need inspiration, you read your list and you will be inspired. It can motivate you. It's a very simple concept, but we read books. And a business book, for example, if you write down the name of the book and the author and why it inspired you, and you do this on an ongoing basis, and then you develop this great journal of people and things and people who inspire you, it'd be very powerful. In my 30 years of teaching material to help people increase the likelihood of positive outcomes in their work and in their lives, there is one technique that seems to be one of the best for most people, and that is gratitude journal. Give me a hand raise if you do a gratitude journal or you've heard of it or you've ever done it. Do a little hand wave if that's the case. Yes, some, yep, 5, yep, 3, 4, 3. Gratitude journal is nothing more than writing down, usually 5 to 7 days a week, anything at all in your life that makes you feel grateful, thankful, appreciative, anything at all, big things, little things, medium-sized things. And there are many reasons for doing this. It is essentially attention training. That is, if you start writing down 5 things that make you feel grateful, and again, it could be anything. It could be 5 songs. It could be 5 different kinds of pizza. It could be 5 people that you love. It could be 5 customers that you have. It could be any combination of things. What happens is you start to notice more things in your life that are good, that you normally take for granted, which is practically everything. Like Canadian singer-songwriter Joni Mitchell wrote in her song, Big Yellow Taxi, "Don't it always seem to go that you don't know what you got till it's gone? Do you have a hot shower? Do you have a place to live? Do you have enough food? Do you have enough heat?" The people in Texas, a lot of them don't have that right now. And I'm sure they really miss it. We miss it when the electricity goes out and then it comes back. It's like, oh, electricity, you're so great, for like 5 seconds. By doing gratitude journal, there are a number of benefits that are potential. And one of them is increased resiliency. Resiliency means the ability to bounce back from adversity, to weather the storm, to have a bad day in business or a bad week or a bad month, and to recover. That's called resiliency. Doing a gratitude journal over time generally improves our sense and our ability to bounce back, to stay positive, to stay balanced. Gratitude journal is not a Band-Aid. It's not a Band-Aid over things that are clearly not good. There are clearly things that are not good. It's more about noticing the things that are, appreciating them, having a positive emotional experience, a positive neurological experience, and a positive cognitive experience. That is, you start to realize that, in case you don't already, that you are fortunate, you are lucky, you are blessed, you have a lot. You have a lot of resources, you have a lot of things, you have a lot of love, you have a lot of stuff, you have a lot of connections. And I really recommend a gratitude journal. It's a wonderful, easy to do practice that the cost-benefit ratio of doing gratitude journal, how long does it take? Most people who do it say 3 to 5 minutes a day. And so, people set New Year's resolutions. Do you remember yours? Well, maybe yes, maybe no. I have a different strategy, and that is words of the year. Look at that. Instead of specific outcome goals, consider trajectory goals. And for example, I say you pick 3 words that are meaningful to you that you want to amplify in your behavior or your thinking. So maybe, you say, well, what do I need more of? Maybe you need to be more patient. I need to be more patient. Gotta be more patient. No, I'm not patient. So patience. And then maybe self-awareness. Maybe fitness. Or maybe it's empathy, compassion, and kindness. Maybe it's faith, hope, and charity. But these have to be words that you yourself choose, and that you believe that you want to work with them. Reminders are powerful. And the act of reminding yourself that you want to be more patient means that you're going to have more awareness of it. And if you have more awareness of it, you'll do it more. Like I like to say, I'm patient when I remember to be patient. When I remember to be patient, I'm patient. When I'm not thinking about it, I might not be patient. If I look at the word every day and think about it, I increase the likelihood that I'll be more patient. And that's pretty good because that can increase the likelihood of really good year. So people use these words of the year in different ways. Some of my clients like to pick a word of the day or a word of the week. They're all good words. It's like, what do you want to be working on? What do you want to remember? What do you want to focus on? So there's that. Finally, there's 20 for 2021, daily reminders for a stellar year. You might have gathered, I'm a big believer in reminders. If they are reminders of things that we want to remember. A reminder is no good if it's something that we don't really want to remember, because then we just ignore it. It's like motivational posters in the workplace. In some workplaces, there's like posters like, there is no I in team. Well, if you care about teamwork, and that is a reminder to you that teamwork is important and it's us, it's not I. And every time I see it, it reminds me. Good. If I don't care about that, I can see that poster and it doesn't do anything, just words. So I have 20 reminders. Daily, I call them daily reminders for a stellar year. And each one of them is a different focus. Like number one is emotions happen, behavior is a choice. That's very powerful. It tested very well on Facebook. I test all of these first with my advisors on Facebook, see how many likes it gets. That one got a lot of likes because it reminds us that emotions happen. I may not be able to control an emotion, but behavior is a choice. What do I want to do with that emotion? So these are all good. Number 5 is when you're about to lose patience, don't. I like that one. 7, opportunity can't knock if it doesn't know your address. Gratitude helps and is always available. Number 9, from the Jimmy Durante song, make someone happy, make just one someone happy, and you'll be happy too. And then we'll just mention number 19, recognize your good luck and make good use of it. You wouldn't be here if you didn't have essentially some good luck, some good fortune in your life. The circumstances of our birth, we had no control over it. We already won the lottery because we exist. So it's like, what's good? And what are your attributes? What are the things that are lucky? Can you think? Can you see? Can you drive? Can you walk? My father can't do a lot of that. He's 101. And he said, boy, I used to be able to do all those things. That was lucky. Yeah, there's a lot that we can do that perhaps we don't acknowledge as being benefits or being fortunate. And then Good Witch Glinda from The Wizard of Oz had that memorable statement, you had the power all along, my dear. And that was the theme of The Wizard of Oz, that, your belief system or your BS is really a huge controlling factor. If you remember, the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Cowardly Lion were given placebos by the fake wizard. And then the Scarecrow became smart, and the Tin Man became loving, and the Cowardly Lion became the king of the jungle. But they were the same dudes. They got placebos, and they changed their BS, their, how they represented themselves. And so, let us just go back to, okay, so there was this, and you should have a copy of this. And I'm thinking Dave Colby maybe put in the chat could they go to a website and get this, or could they send you an email if they don't have it?
Yes, we can. We have the
Colby?
presentation. Yes, we have the presentation. We can share that with everybody.
Good, good. And so, okay, these are the suggestions that I have. There's a lot of them. You don't have to do all of them, and just one of them could make a huge difference. Butterfly effect. So, okay, I would like to ask if you have any questions, first of all, and if you do, send them on the chat. Asking for questions now. This is the question period.
Myrna,
and if there are not, what, David?
Myrna is asking if she can get a copy of the presentation. Absolutely, we do have that for everybody. She's also made the comment that she does a gratitude journal every morning to start her day, and that's the gratitude journal. That was a suggestion I got from you years ago, Jerry, and made a huge impact for me doing. I choose to do mine at night, and for a period of time did it with my daughter. It was just a great thing.
Yeah, that's good, David. You're a good student. Then, all right, I'm going to randomly call on a person, and I'm going to ask that person what you thought was significant to you or what you liked the most. Of course, you don't have to write a lot, but so I'm going to call on Erica Green because I can see your name on my list. So Erica Green, can you type in one thing that you thought might be useful to you or something that you liked specifically about our talk today, something you think might be useful? And let's see what comes up. I should also just ask anybody, anything you thought would be useful or what you liked about some of this content, and just send it on the chat. Okay, I really appreciate these points, super helpful and powerful. Yes. Remembering to take a breath. Yes. Erica, one thing about breathing, there's a technique called square breathing or box breathing that is very simple, and Navy SEALs do it. And it would be, if you like to breathe to calm yourself down, you should find out about that by doing a Google search for box breathing Navy SEALs. David Helton says, what is the book that you refer to? And I think I was referring to The Oz Principle by Connors, Smith, and Hickman. The Oz Principle. Just between us kids, see it, own it, solve it, do it, I think is the best part of the book. But there's good stuff in there too. But yes. So the word is serenity. Let's see, that came from Geneva Hamilton. Yes, serenity now. Serenity is a good one. Good. Let's see, waiting on a few others.
Do you want to mention your book, Jerry? You wrote a book.
Oh, I have two.
Yeah.
I have two books. They're like this talk in book form. They're cute. You can find them on Amazon. They're not new, but they're still good. If you go, one's called Attention Late Bloomers, You're Right on Time. The other one is called Eternal Cosmic Wisdom at Bargain Basement Prices. So they have some humor to it. If you do not have a sense of humor, don't read these books. They're not for you. But if you do and you like this sort of thing, you'd enjoy the books. They have them on Amazon. You could probably get used copies really cheap, as a matter of fact. So Paula says, I appreciate the presentation. Like what's important, what's meaningful, what's right for me, what do I want most? That's good, Paula. And again, it's a really good way to gauge your client's needs. You know, what's important to my client, what's meaningful to my client, what's right for my client, what's my client want most, or what's important to my customer, what's meaningful, or what's important to my spouse, what is meaningful to my spouse, what is right for my spouse, what does my spouse want most, what is important to my kids, what is meaningful to my kids, what is right for my kids, what do my kids want most. And so with that, I would like to say thank you for joining us today. I wasn't able to see your smiling faces, but I know that they're out there. I would like to say that I am extremely grateful that we only had a couple of glitches, right, David? Just a couple?
Just a couple.
Maybe three?
It wasn't bad at all.
That's good. That's pretty darn good. And so, with some final words, ladies and gentlemen, your friend and mine, Mr. David Colby.
Well, thank you very much, Jerry. And I'm here with Shahana as our Director of Membership. Would you like to?
I think this was amazing. And I think it's even more meaningful right now after everything that we all went through in 2020, and it continues to go through in 2021, and just reassessing our priorities and realizing life really can change in just, you know, in a minute. And just making sure we know what is meaningful to us, what is important to us, and live the best life that we can with what we have. So
yeah, thank you. I think it's a great reminder that we have to, we're always taking care of other people. We have to focus on ourselves.
oh yes.
So it's some really good reminders, and I've gotten a lot of value over the years, Jerry, from the things that you've shared. So I really appreciate you being with us. We have some of our great chamber members and leaders in the community with us here today too. So appreciate it very much. So thank you, Jerry.
It was a privilege, really, Dave. That was just, I mean, it was easier than flying to Florida, and I really do appreciate it. I say, you know, friend me on Facebook, follow me on Instagram, connect with me on LinkedIn, and we'll, you know, be friends forever. And, you know, anything I can do, or if you have any questions, here's my email.
And for everybody, we will be putting this in our newsletter next week. So if there's people that you'd like to share this presentation with, certainly it will be in our archives of webinars. So so you'll have that information. So, and Jerry's putting his.
Isn't technology amazing?
There we go. He's right in the chat. Jerry Posner at iCloud.com and jerryposner.com.
And Myrna just ordered your books. Hey.
Awesome. They're great books.
I think you will enjoy them.
And anytime you're in Florida, Jerry, feel free to stop by and visit our chamber.
Yeah,
I'd love to meet you.
We can meet you halfway to Aventura.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I look forward to the day we can all have lunch together. That was one of the high points. You know, I would do a workshop in Hudson where Dave was the executive director, and then we go for lunch. I love going for lunch with friends. So, all right, everybody, thank you so much. It was really a pleasure.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry.
Take care.
Have a great day, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.